All right, guys, today we're going to talk about bias and bias that we see particularly in news articles. So what is bias? Bias is the presentation of opinions that are not supported by facts. And bias we see everywhere in the world, particularly in a world that's as politicized as ours is today. Bias is just using opinions and adjusted facts, alternative facts, whatever you want to call them, in order to support a particular stance on a topic without looking at the topic objectively. So instead of using facts to create an opinion, people are taking their opinions and finding facts or adjusting facts to support the opinion that they already have. And while finding information to support your opinion is always a good thing, when you start to pick and choose what type of facts you want to use, that's when things get a little dicey, and that's when bias comes into play. An author's bias can be revealed through the observation of both evidence, so what information they choose to present, and the diction, how they choose to present it, how they choose to phrase it, or state those certain types of information. So when we think about presenting evidence, we kind of want to think about this question. Does the author present more positive or negative evidence for one side of an issue than the other? So, for example, we can take politics as an example. If someone is as a Republican writer, as a conservative writer, obviously they're going to put a lot more positive information about particular political candidates on the Republican side. Whereas they're probably going to provide a lot of negative information about Democratic candidates. And then diction is also important to look at as well on top of evidence. Does the author use words with positive or negative connotations when discussing one side of an issue? We talked about connotation and denotation way back in the beginning of the year. The words that you choose to phrase or the words that you choose to use can really have an influence on how your message comes across. If you say a positive word or a positive sounding word as opposed to a negative sounding word, it's going to influence how your reader perceives what's being presented to you. All right, so we're going to watch a quick little video here all about bias between different types of news stations about a particular topic.
Case, I think, closed. I thought it was sort of generic. She really didn't say that much that was interesting. That could not have gone better for them. That could not have gone better for them.
It wasn't a great speech, but she delivered it very well, and she came across extremely attractive.
If that speech was to be more about tone than content, pitch perfect. It was supposed to be more about content than tone. Pitch perfect.
It was a very liberal speech. There was one reference to soldiers who defend their country.
There was a reference to they love this country, meaning the troops. There was another one to I love this country. There were 6 references to country.
The heroes of Michelle Obama's world are people who march.
Not everybody's going to be taken with this charm offensive.
I'm so concerned to get away from this elitist attack that the McCain campaign has launched that she never mentioned the colleges she and her husband went to or the law school they both went to, all of which are Ivy League schools.
I'm taken with it. I am very proud of my country tonight.
Michelle Obama looked just beautiful, but I can't help but feel after this first night of the convention that it was a largely wasted night.
I know. I'm beginning to sound borderline sycophantic on this.
His wife loves him, although, in a court of law, that's usually discounted by the jury.
Yeah, case closed. That could not have been.
All right, so obviously the MSNBC reporters were very positive towards Michelle Obama, were very biased towards that Democratic side of the spectrum, whereas the Fox reporters a little biased against that Democratic side. Not saying one side's right or wrong, more so just pointing out the differences between the two. All right, so we're going to look at a particular news article and kind of analyze the bias within that. So on Schoology, in the week of 5-4 folder, you're going to find a PDF that says March Madness and Money. It's all about the money behind the big March Madness tournament every year. You're going to read through that article. And then on the bias and news article Google Doc, you're going to include the following: the name of the title, obviously, March Madness and Money. The author's bias. Is the author supporting or opposing the topic of the article? So this author is writing about March Madness and the money behind it. Are they supporting March Madness, or are they speaking out against it? You're going to pick 3 pieces of evidence or quotes from the article that make the author's bias clear. So anything that the author says that makes it clear that he or she is either supporting or opposing March Madness. And then you're going to give a quick little explanation for each of those 3 pieces of evidence, just explaining to me how the quote that you pulled supports or explains the overall bias of the author. All right. And then you're going to submit that Google Doc on Schoology. If you have any questions, please reach out to me either via email or in the Google Hangout.